Biden's Twitter account has been fact checked for dubious claim about the taxes billionaires pay. So, President Joe Biden's Twitter account posted a questionable statistic on Saturday about how much tax American billionaires pay. Look, I think you should be able to be a billionaire if you can earn it, but just pay your fair share. Biden's tweet read, I think he ought to pay a minimum tax of 25%. It's about basic fairness. The tweet included a graphic of a Biden quote that said, You know the average tax billionaires pay? 3%. No billionaire should be paying a lower tax than somebody working as a school teacher or a firefighter. But it is unclear where the 3% figure came from, and it contradicts figures the White House has issued in the past. And in February, the White House issued a fact sheet called The Biden Economic Plan is Working, which calculated how much tax the U.S. could collect if it counted unrealized gains, a potential profit on an unsold asset, as income. Ugh, crazy. So in a typical year, billionaires pay an average tax rate of just 8%, the fact sheet read. Factoring in unrealized gains is the reason for the lower statistic, which, by the way, it means that they're trying to make it seem like billionaires pay an extremely low amount of taxes because they haven't took the profits off of their assets. So like for example, if their stocks went way up, they're trying to say like, oh, they didn't pay taxes on those stocks that went way up. Well, they didn't sell of the stocks, so how could they pay taxes on it? It's the same thing with like your house. If it like went up $100,000, you're not paying taxes on it if the value of the home went up $100,000, unless you sell it when it gets up there. Like it just is so stupid. So using the existing definition of taxable income, really rich people pay an average federal income tax rate in the mid 20s. Brookings Institution Tax Policy Center's senior fellow Howard Kleckman told PolitiFact in July. If you want to include unrealized gains in your denominator, as the White House does, the average rate would go way down. By the way, the average rate would go way down, not just for billionaires, but for middle class people and upper middle class people, because they have 401ks. Like, it's just so stupid. Another White House figure from 2021 gave an 8% figure rather than the 3% one Biden recently cited. The analysis from OMB and CEA economists estimates that the wealthiest 400 billionaire families in America paid an average of just 8.2% of their income, including income from their wealth that goes largely untaxed in federal individual income taxes between 2010 and 2018. That's a lower rate than many ordinary Americans pay, the 2021 Post read. In response, Twitter CEO Elon Musk disputed Biden's tax claim. I paid 53% taxes on my Tesla stock options, 40% federal, and 13% state, so I must be lifting the average. The South African entrepreneur wrote, I also paid more income tax than anyone ever in the history of Earth for 2021 and will do that again in 2022. Would be curious to hear how these other billionaires are so good at avoiding taxes. Musk added in another tweet after asking Twitter's community notes feature to fact check the statement. Which again, like the thing is, if you're a billionaire, technically speaking, you could go multiple years without paying taxes and it wouldn't even be that hard because you just basically pay yourself nothing from your company or your assets or whatever, right? Like basically take no income from a job. Let's say that you're retired, right? You're retired, but you have a whole bunch of stock of a company. So what you decide to do, you have no income, right? So what you could do is take a loan on all of your stock, or a portion of your stock for a good chunk of money, right? And live off of that money while also paying the monthly payment with the money that you got from the loan. You could technically do that for probably a few years, and you don't have to pay taxes probably during that time. Now, don't take tax advice from me, but that's probably a way that some billionaires would actually go and do it. Let's see. Everybody hates paying taxes, but there should be a realistic amount that everyone pays. Anything over 20% combined state and federal should be considered robbery. I think it should all be considered robbery because they are literally stealing your money. So the thought of taxing unrealized gains is absolutely theft. And I agree, right? Taxing unrealized gains is so stupid. So stupid. The average person trying to save puts money into deferred comp and other similar investments. Should they have to pay taxes on the unrealized unpaid to them increases, especially in a year with 10% inflation exceed those paper profits? Should people have to pay income taxes on the increased value of their homes? Like this is the thing that like annoys me, right? Because if you open up the box of trying to tax unrealized gains, you're not just screwing over billionaires, you are literally screwing over the middle class, the upper class, and people in poverty as well, because they might have been given a pretty nice deal for a home, but if that home ends up going up in value, now they're basically in a whole different tax bracket. It's just crazy. So if my unrealized gain from this year lost 45K from the unrealized gains of last year, do I get the tax difference back? And if it's unrealized, how do I know it's even there? And no, they haven't bothered to discuss losses and how they would be handled. Why don't they discuss reducing government expenses? Accounting 101. To get your books in order, reduce expenses or increase revenue. They only want to increase revenue or taxes in this case. I mean, that is kind of funny, right? Because they have, to my knowledge, they haven't spent any time discussing, okay, you're doing unrealized gains, you're going to tax unrealized gains, but how does unrealized losses work? So the taxpayer is supposed to pay the same rate even as the dollar depreciates and inflation goes up. That should be a 12% overall tax deduction right there. Taxing unrealized gains is just another way for the government to redistribute your wealth to them. Imagine having to write a check to the government every year because the value of your home and stock portfolio rises. Imagine having to sell those stocks to pay those unrealized gains. Whew. So in Biden's wealth tax, unrealized gains are rewritten to become income, though no taxable sale or disposition of it occurs. His bizarre world order will tax the phantom income presumably at a minimum tax rate of at least 28%, and when or if the value of this investment declines from the value you paid a tax on, such declines are limited to $3,000 per year. So taxed on a fake gain of 25,000 in year 1 and value goes down 10,000 in year 2, the loss deduction is limited to $3,000 with the balance forced to be carried forward to future years. Biden gets it both ways on the up and down sides. He's learned this in his pay for play political depredations over his 80 plus years. Oh gosh, if that's really how the law is like potentially written, that would be such a disgusting thing. So wasn't Hunter Biden in trouble for not paying taxes like $2 million or so? Am I wrong about this? Didn't he have done rich friend cover the bill for him for some reason? Interesting. Nobody should be worth billions of dollars. That said, not only do billionaires pay a lot of other taxes, they employ lots of people who pay lots of taxes. That includes supporting businesses. The spending of this corrupt, incompetent government must be brought under control. Millions of government employees need to be transferred to the private sector and start paying taxes instead of depending on taxes for a paycheck. Whew, Lord. If you stumble upon this, feel free to give your thoughts on this. To me, the concept of taxing something that has never been sold is just beyond stupid.